All right, once again, the Greg Proops Film Club convenes here in Hollywood's most salubrious film confabulation, the Los Feliz Theater, under the auspices of the fabulous American Cinematheque. Tonight we are showing Martin Ritt's 1965 classic by John le Carre, The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. This is Yay, where you get to applaud. Well, thanks for coming out tonight, you guys. I know that, wow. The world's a little kooky right now, but I'm optimistic. I really am. I'm giddy. I'm in a good mood. I don't know why. I feel like Erica Kirk at the wake. You know what I mean? I just want to put on leather pants, dance, and rub up against J.D. Vance, you know, horrible, crooked, mayonnaise-induced sea creature coke boner that he has, and just have the best time. Set off fireworks, ride a unicycle over them. A pit full of alligators or whatever. You know, people grieve differently. Some people write in a journal, some people take pictures or whatever, press flowers. Other people put on leather trousers and set off fireworks and shit. And you know what, when I saw Erica Kirk celebrating him that way, I was like, I'm on that same page. I felt the same way. As soon as I saw he was dead, I was like, fuck, I'll set off some fireworks. This is pretty awesome. If that makes me a bad person, so be it. How about that? I'm a comedian, not a saint. So when Nazis die, it's fucking funny, okay? That's how that fucking works. Don't kid yourself. The world is a beautiful place full of awesome people. And when good people die, it's sad. You may have noticed that you feel sad when good people die. And when awful people die, you're kind of like, say, I'd like a Pepsi and a bong hit. You know? And that's how I feel tonight. I really do. I feel optimistic. I know we're showing one of the most, hang on a second while I pour myself one from the globe of mystery here. All of the films at the Greg Proops Film Club are curated by my wife, Jennifer. And what we do is, in the middle of the night, we lie in a shallow ditch in our backyard in the gracious Los Angeles area of Los Angeles. And we live in actually the bitter hinterlands of West Hollywood as opposed to the Fertile Crescent. And we've been banished there. In any case, we lay in a shallow ditch with a fishbone ensconced in our hair, waiting for the waxing moon to rise. And the globe of mystery is spun. And inside are the names of every film that's ever been made. And that's how Jennifer picked this one tonight. No, we have two rationale. I may have discussed it before if I have, and you've heard it. Tough shit. Is it under 2 hours and is it awesome? And that movie, tonight's movie, fills the bill on both of those. You may be watching The Night Manager right now, which is also a John le Carre. I don't know, the new Night Manager came out, and something happened between the first one and the second one. One, John le Carre passed, and two, something awful happened to the plot of this one. I wasn't quite sure. I think something hit the dialogue and destroyed like a mold or something that took away most of the character development. So now we're on the fourth episode of The Night Manager, the one that's not written by John le Carre, and we brought back the dead character from the first series, in case I just spoiled it for everyone. I don't think I can spoil this one for you. This one's like watching What If Narco had English people. It's like Sicario with English accents is what this one is. So there's my review of The Night Manager. Although I love the first one so much. So yeah, like I said, I feel good. I mean, first of all, Quiet Piggy had maybe the lowest week of his entire, he looks like a burnt pot sticker. So I really feel like soon he's gonna pop off. And I am so ready for it. I remember when Biden was elected, like I say, I live in the bitter hinterlands of West Hollywood. There was an impromptu parade in the street. We literally had a parade. My wife and I walked out and people were driving cars up and down the street. Someone had built a float. Like, how do you do it that fast? You know what I mean? Like, there was a float. It was like the Rose Parade, except it wasn't, white supremacist. And we really had a great time that day. And I feel like when this one happens, it's going to be like the Super Bowl and the end of the last episode of Yellowstone and the WWE championships and NASCAR all at once. It'll be that much fun. Beyonce is going to drive a car around the top of the arena or whatever for half an hour, and Kendrick Lamar is going to come out and be like, they're not like us. We're going to have fun when Quiet Piggy dies. I mean, and I really think it's going to be so cataclysmic and so so shaky that people all over the world are going to be excited about it. I mean, I'm going to dig Robert Stack up from the afterworld and put him back in his trench coat so that unexplained, or whatever they were called, inexplicable mysteries. So I'm going to set Robert Stack a search all over the entirety of the world to look for someone who's sad upon the moment of Quiet Piggy's demise, because it's going to be a fucking desperate search. Yes, you can go visit my cousins in Sparks, Nevada. Clearly, they're going to be hanging off the tire swing for half an hour. They're going to have to put down their meth and their fentanyl and be like, fuck, what happened to our world, right? We used to be able to shoot people and scream the N-bomb and the R-bomb at the top of our voice and be elated about it, and now we have to be quiet for half an hour. By the way, the news is going to act like one of the greatest statesmen of all time passed away. We look forward to that hideous moment of events. But I really think nothing on earth is going to be sad that Quiet Piggy dies. If you think his children are going to be sad, Don Jr. is going to receive the most gigantic parcel from Cartagena that you've ever seen in your life. And Melania, are you kidding? That's going to be a shopping spree at Dolce & Gabbana. I don't think she can get Air Force One to fly to Dolce & Gabbana fast enough so that she can buy something kicky for the funeral. And by the way, the Melania movie, I believe, has already been released and has already received the reviews of a dead Dick Cheney, who gave it 4 stars. This reminds me of the afterworld. And if you think I'm fantasizing about violent things, I'm not really. I'm just trying to get through the day. You know what I'm saying? I have to live in this world too. We all have to live in this world. We're going to win. And this is why. Because people have courage. You see what's going on in Minneapolis. You see that we haven't folded. You see that the country's still going. You went and got a burrito next door or whatever before the show. The world is still fucking functioning. Just because Stephen Miller, that fucking Shonda for the Goyim, fucking has to show up and be horrible every moment. First of all, if your head shape was like that, there's really no other destiny you can have. I don't mean to be like a 19th century phrenologist or whatever, but if your head was shaped like Stephen Miller's, you're going to be upset with the world every moment of your life. You're going to be at war with the fucking world. And because I heard nothing from the Shonda from the Goyim people, it's a Yiddish word. Shonda means little embarrassment, and the Goyim are apparently you. Like the Goyim are Pasadena. Or let me put it, the Goyim are like Huntington Beach, right? I would be a Christian and a Republican, I really would. And this is why. Because I would be like a 9. You know what I mean? I mean, as a liberal in the way I look, I'm like a 5, maybe a 6 with some intellect. But as a Republican, not only would I be the smartest, I'd be the sexiest too. I'd be right above Matt Gaetz. I mean, when you're talking about Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham and Marjorie Taylor Greene with her spork foot or whatever, I'm going to be pretty fucking hot as a Republican. And I can put a whole sentence together, and I know that Iceland has no ice and that Greenland has no green. How about that? I figured that out all on my own. And I know that a tariff is not a terrier. There seems to be some confusion. And the whole crowd's gone quiet. So that's why I feel good. I feel like we've lost a lot of groovy people. You're Robert Redford, you're Claudia Cardinale, Diane Keaton, Udo Kier, all lovely people that everyone held in their heart, right? I mean, Udo Kier, you remember Udo Kier, that he was in a lot of mainstream movies, like Terrence Stamp was at the end, a lot of character roles. But of course, he was awesomely in 1,000 art films in the 60s and 70s and 80s, where he acted like a screaming lunatic. As my wife said, he's one of the few actors that you could say, will you open the refrigerator? And he turns that into a moment of existential dread. If you've ever seen the Deeper and Deeper video by Madonna, Udo Kier is in it, and it opens with him. There's no rhyme or reason to it, which is what made the 90s awesome. And it opens with Udo Kier going, and everybody, and you're like, what's happening? This is a Madonna video. And it gets better after that. He pops balloons, he does shampoo horns. At one point, he has a complete freak out. And it's a video, like they're in a disco dancing and shit, and he's going. So I used to live in England, right? Because I can't get work here. And I used to host a radio show sometimes on Radio 2. This is in the 90s. And the film critic for I think The Guardian, Mark Kermode, used to come on the show, right? He came on anyway, but he came on when I was guest hosting. And he played a clip from Flesh for Frankenstein, and it was Udo Kier. And it's a quote that I've tried to live my life by. And Udo Kier says in the movie, as Dr. Frankenstein, to his assistant Otto, "To know death, Otto, you must fuck life in the gallbladder." And these are the kind of things that lift my spirits. When I think of Charlie Kirk, I'm like, ugh, ucky. When I think of Udo Kier, I'm like, he fucked life in the gallbladder. That's a beautiful thing to be remembered for. He also never let you down. He entertained you. That's the problem with these jokers, is they let you down. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, did you ever feel let down by, Michelle Obama or whatever? No, you were always, like, delighted when she showed up and shit. But every one of these crackheads, Jesus Christ. I mean, Kirsty Noem is from South Dakota, and I'm sick of it. Let me just say that I'm sick of the tyranny of the Dakotas. Doug Burgum, our Secretary of the Interior, is from North Dakota. He's a billionaire. Kristi Noem was the governor of South Dakota. And she was not allowed on Indian territory when she was the governor. I don't know if you've ever been to South Dakota. A lot of it is Indian territory. She was not allowed in most of her state because the Indians wouldn't allow her on their territory because she was so horrible. She's the one who shot her dog for looking at her crossways. You know what I mean? This wasn't an Old Yeller situation. The dog just went, meow, meow, and she was like, fuck you, dog. And now, everywhere you go to every airport, I don't know if you've been to an airport lately, but I travel the world trying to elude the police. And her video is playing in a bunch of airports now, and it's Kristi Noem. And she's standing there when you're walking through the security line, and she's like, if you brought a dog with you on this flight, you're in fucking trouble. I will empty this flight and shoot the dog on the tarmac in front of you. And the crowd's gone quiet. I could talk about abortion or genocide or Minneapolis or anything, and you would laugh and laugh. As soon as a pretend dog is killed in a fake routine, everyone becomes as serious as can be. This is what I love about Hollywood. I was watching the movie Casino once with a friend, and if you recall in the movie, a man is killed with a Bic pen in one scene. Later in the movie, Sharon Stone does a line of coke in front of her daughter and goes, honey, don't do this. And the crowd in the movie theater went, oh. They laughed and cheered through the man being stabbed to death with a pen. And they were appalled that Sharon Stone did a line of coke, which, by the way, was in a movie. I'm not sure what the coke budget is for movies, but it's pretty low in my experience. Every time I've pretended to do coke in a movie, it wasn't really coke. And that's what's bullshit about show business. Unless it's the movie The Last Waltz, in which case it really was coke. So Martin Ritt. Martin Ritt is a superb director, writer, playwright, and actor. He was a protege of Elia Kazan, who was also a superb director. Now, Martin Ritt was working in television in the 50s, and they started to out him as a communist. Now, he never really was a communist, but it didn't really matter. Kind of like now, when people knock on the door and go, oh, is your daddy home? Oh, you're an American citizen? I don't care. No one cared if you really were a communist in the 50s. They were just going to cart you the fuck away. So, believe it or not, a grocery store owner from Syracuse, New York, alleged that Martin Ritt gave money to communist China and he was blackballed from show business. Okay, so Martin Ritt persevered, and after 5 or 6 years, he was allowed to shoot a film, and he made an awesome movie with Sidney Poitier called Edge of the City, and John Cassavetes, Edge of the City. And then he went on to make a bunch of very important films, such as Sounder, which is an extraordinary film, an exceedingly emotional picture about a black family in the Depression and how their father's incarcerated for no reason. He also made a movie called Conrack, I will leave the name of the star out of it because he's impossibly shitty now. But it was a movie about teaching underprivileged black children. He also made Norma Ray, about a woman, a true story about a woman who unionizes her plant. And Sally Field won her first Oscar for that. The second one was You Like Me, You Really Like Me. The first one was Norma Ray. And Martin Ritt said about Norma Ray that she was the most fabulous actress he'd ever seen and that he cried when he watched The Rushes. So he made this picture with Richard Burton in '65. Now this is the height of James Bond mania. It was right after From Russia with Love. It's right before Goldfinger. And by the way, the screenwriter of this movie also wrote Goldfinger. How's that grab you? So, I think the Ipcris file had just come out, right? So we're in the middle of Spyland in the mid-'60s. Now, my father was a degenerate horse player and gambler, and he had a buddy named Dave. And for the Christmas of 1964 or 5, Dave gave me the James Bond attaché case. And this is something kids got in the 60s. And it was an attaché case, and when you pushed a button, a knife came out the front, hello, and then when you opened it up, there was all these guns and shit inside. There was a camera that was a pretend Leica, and when you pressed a button, it turned into a Luger. Yeah, this was a child's gift. There was an AM/FM radio. This is before boomboxes, but in the mid-'60s, we had AM/FM radios that were powered by batteries. And when you turned that on, it turned into a machine gun. And I couldn't have been more excited to get that. And so I would wear, we would go to Sunday school, and I would wear a suit. And the only person I knew that wore a suit, aside from my dad, was James Bond. And so after Sunday school, I would say to my parents, may I please keep the suit on? And I would run around my apartment complex with my fucking James Bond shit, dressed in a suit as a 6-year-old. So it's pretty important stuff. This movie is sort of the anti-James Bond. No cars fly. And because it's an English movie that also takes place in Germany, the sense of depression and melancholy, I don't know if you're going to escape it as you leave the theater. You'll be, however you're getting home, you're going to be like, Jesus fucking Christ. So I lived in England for 5 years, right? And the guy on the corner sold flowers. And every day I walked by him on the way to the newsagent. Those were the days when you bought newspapers, right? And this is the 90s. So you go down to they called it a newsagent. It was the whatchamacallit. What's the fucking word here? The newsstand. You would go down to the newsstand. Like there's still one over on Hollywood, right? That really bitchin' gigantic one that Buster Keaton shot right next to in that alley where he grabs the streetcar. That's right next to that. I'm pointing this way to orient you. It's actually that way. I would walk to the newsagent every day, and every day I'd walk by the flower guy and go, hi, how are you? And he went, after 3 years, I walked by him one day and he went, you all right? That's fucking England. I'd seen him every day for 3 years. And after 3 years, he went, you all right? Because warmth. They exude it. They embrace it. Now, you've seen England on telly and stuff. And sometimes it's misleading, like on Black Dove, because everybody's good looking. Thank you. Only Jennifer laughed at that. I lived in England for 5 years, as I say, because I wanted to be the best looking person in the place I lived. So Marty Ritt captures that element. And Richard Burton is fantastic in this movie because, in my opinion, Richard Burton was a superb stage actor. And by the way, a couple of his friends are in this as extras, or have small parts in this. Everybody that he worked with in Wales and everybody he worked with at the Royal Shakespeare Company before he became a movie star, he employed once he became a movie star. He also took care of over 30 people in his family from Wales. He was their financial support. Richard Burton was from, not like your Benedict Cumberbatches and your Eddie Redmaynes and all the rich actors of today. Richard Burton was from a dirt poor fucking family in Wales. And he really did look after dozens and dozens of people. Now, by this point, he'd married Elizabeth Taylor, right? This is 65. So he'd already married her after Cleopatra. But in the 50s, he had been with Claire Bloom, who's the female lead of this movie. Well, Elizabeth Taylor was on the set the whole time, and he tried to get her to be the female lead of the movie, but Martin Ritt wouldn't have it. So Elizabeth Taylor was hanging out on the set with Claire Bloom there too, who's the lead of the movie. And John le Carré said, Claire Bloom was very dignified and spent a lot of time hiding in her caravan. That means trailer. Burton, in my opinion, is miscast utterly when he's a hero. For instance, in Mark Antony and Cleopatra, very depressed Mark Antony. He's supposed to take over the empire after Caesar and be with Cleopatra and be the king of Egypt and all that, and he just sulks. And then if you've ever seen Alexander the Great, he's Alexander the Great, and he's 29 years old and takes over the entire world, from Greece to Afghanistan and India, and at no point is he happy. Because it's Richard Burton, so take care of Afghanistan. But what does it mean anyway? And then he lays in his tent, and you're like, Alexander, you're king of the world. Come out of the tent. We're in Babylon. Have some fun. Have some wine or whatever, some boys, some girls. Let's get it on. But when he plays a depressive alcoholic full of self-pity, he's magnificent. Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? If only he'd been on Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, if you've ever seen that with him and Elizabeth Taylor. They're drunk and squeamy through the whole movie. And he's fantastic in it. He's cruel, and he's full of self-pity. And in this movie, he is a spy who's at the very edge of his fucking tether, right? I've just mixed two metaphors here. He's at the end of his rope. And the cold refers to the Cold War and the world, right? So when they say you want to be in the cold, that means out there, still doing it, right? Because he makes a choice in this movie. Now, Cyril Cusack plays Control in this movie. Why do I bring this up? Because Cyril Cusack and Richard Burton, 20 years after this, are in the movie 1984 together. And it's Richard Burton's last great picture, and Richard Burton is superb in 1984. If you've never seen it, this isn't a great time to watch it. Why don't we wait a couple years? 2029 might be a great time to watch it. It's a little too realistic right now. It's a little too much. But Richard Burton is great in it. And Cyril Cusack plays the head of the Thought Police. Just to give you an idea of what the Thought Police are, if you've never seen it and never heard of it and have no idea of the world in which you live, or what Orwell said about everything, Orwell's line comes to mind this week because it's the most pertinent line. What was it? To disbelieve the evidence of your eyes and ears was the party's final and most important command. And that's where we are right now, baby. So, Cyril Cusack plays one of the Thought Police. The Thought Police are police who monitor your thoughts. So if you think something bad about the government, you're going to go away. So why do I bring this up? Because Cyril Cusack was a courageous person. Richard Burton was a courageous person. Martin Ritt was astonishingly courageous and had to fight against being blacklisted and ended up making Sounder and HUD and Norma Ray and a really bitching movie with Paul Newman and Sidney Poitier called Paris Blues, where there were a bunch of hip jazz musicians in the early 60s with Diane Carroll. It's so sexy and fun. You'd love that movie. And they didn't back the fuck down. And we're not backing the fuck down either. Things are fucking terrible. And that's exactly the time when you stand the fuck up, when you join other people, when you show your support for other people, when you get on social media and let people know how you feel. If you can't get out in the street, there's 100 other things you can do. At the very least, you can experience joy and dance, because every tiny act like that is an act of revolution when you're staring fascism in the fucking eye. And so here we are tonight to celebrate this depressing-ass spy movie from 1965 together, because it means something, goddammit, and here we are. And I will leave you with this. Martin Ritt said this: a film can never be totally successful if it doesn't upset anyone. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you very much for coming out, and I give you the 1965 classic by Martin Ritt, The Spy Who Came In From the Cold.